Yep. Okay. Go.
Will you hand me my scream box?
Now go. The first time you ever talked to me about this case or we met each other, that was just recently. Do you recall when that was, Miss Kelly?
Yes, ma'am. It's approximately a month ago. Not
okay. And was it at that time that I asked you if you had taken any additional photographs of yourself?
Yes.
And then I was the one that asked you to forward those photographs to the prosecutor's office.
Correct.
Okay. So let's go back to this relationship that Miss White was having with the owner of the club. Were you jealous of that relationship?
Not at all.
Okay. When you had testified that when you were in the truck picking up the key to the residence, that you had heard Miss White approaching with Miss Bass, and Miss White was making some comments. When she was making those comments to you about the name on the t-shirt message, was she making any other comments about a relationship or jealousy with Mr.
None
Lewis?
whatsoever.
Okay.
His name never came up.
Let's talk a little bit about this message, name on a t-shirt. What kind of message was that?
She had pulled the context out of a post that I made on social media.
So it was a social media post?
It was a post in regards to warning and advising people to not stalk like stalkers. And it was a general post. Her name was not in it, had nothing to do with her unless she was a stalker and had that mindset. I never made any threats. What it said was, within pulling out of the context of this particular post, it was advising people. I was saying, could you please stop stalking? In the next post, in the next paragraph, I advise that it's non-safe to stalk. I don't know exactly, but I know those paragraphs. I warned it. I'm a mental health counselor, and I had been making posts for years. I still make posts. My signing name on the computer is the counselor with the K. I advise what happens to people that stalk. And most individuals that stalk either end up in jail, which is what I told on the post, or they end up with their name on a t-shirt, because a lot of stalkers end up in altercation. And so it was a warning, and the warning was to any stalkers. I even put a mental health. If you know someone, tell them to stop stalking. And I put the 1-800 number or something on there, and mental health counselor, counseling is real. And that was the post. It was a general post, but it was because she was a stalker that her mindset had her to believe that I was actually talking to her without mentioning her name in the post.
Okay. So that post, it was just a general post on social media. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. The night
and it was never emailed or sent or directed to Miss White in any way that you...
Not at all. It was a general post because in the complex in which I was asleep that night, window was cracked. There was some other thing going on having nothing to do with nobody that we mentioned today. It was on a porch across the walkway, and there was people going back and forth, banging. And I even said that in the post. I even mentioned the time. I said, I'm awoken and now none of us can go to sleep. The clock reads 5:40 something. And then I began to go into what I mentioned earlier, having nothing to do with Miss White. It was all directed at people that know stalkers and people that are stalking. It's just general as any other post on my timeline to date, 2 years later and or 5 to 6 years prior.
Defense counsel asked you if you sought any medical treatment, and at first you said no, but then did you seek medical treatment?
So what it was I do remember going to my primary care physician, and that is out at Domino Farms IHA.
Did you go because of the injuries you suffered from this incident?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. At some point, the paramedics were called, isn't that correct?
They were called, but there was something else going on, and the officers had advised us of this. We waited
I'm going to object to what the officers
45
might have
minutes.
said.
Okay. But were you complaining of pain to the officers that night?
I did. And that's why they
Okay.
called the ambulance. But again, it was taking so long and I was exhausted. By now it's almost 2:30 according to 3. So
Okay.
we'd been out there for a long time.
Okay. I have no further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Burkett?
Well, just this, did you ever give the prosecutor any evidence from your doctors that about these injuries?
No.
Did they ever ask for any? Yes or no? Did the prosecutor ever ask for any?
At what time? I mean, I don't know how to answer
At
that.
any time in your life, did these prosecutors ever ask you for any proof that you went to see the doctors about this?
No. She just asked me for pictures.
All right, thank you. I have no further on it.
I have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of going back and forth about stuff, but the reality is I want to focus on what's important. So you got into the truck, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And as you were reaching over, did you ever get the key in your hand before you heard the noise behind you?
Yes.
Okay, so then you had the key in your hand, and then did you step down out the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you see first when you turned around, when you stepped down out of the vehicle?
Miss White, she was in front of, and Bass was not directly behind. She was just to the side, but behind her. And
Okay.
again, they were coming towards me
All right,
out of the building.
out of the building. And at that point in time, it was just the two of them?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, that is when she was making the comments about thinking you were saying about her name being on the t-shirt,
Correct.
among other things, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were responding, and you said at some point you stuck your hand out, and for the record, you have a hand going forward with your palms facing towards them, sort of to just say stay back, but with your hand sort of sideways. Am I?
Yes, Judge, and I made the statement, Judge. I said, go ahead, Tamika. Don't nobody want to fight today. Because again, I was an officer of the court, and I just did not want to have to deal with it. The report, and just even being in that was, even though I was the victim, I still had to write a report to work stating why I was in a police report.
All right. And then she hit you,
Yes,
and you guys were, and then the fight ensued because you hit her back, and
correct.
then you're fighting.
Yes, ma'am.
The fighting that you're doing, is this, and excuse the way I phrase this, but is this girl roundhouse fighting with hands above, or is this punching, standing toe to toe?
So again, I don't even want to say I wasn't fighting her. I was more or less trying to just get her off of her and stop. That's why no nails are broke. She doesn't have any scratches. Again, it was we tugging at each other.
So it's a tugging match
Right.
more than anything else.
Yes.
And so at some point in time, you testified during this that you guys, that was, you used a better word than I used. Let me try to look it up if I can find it in here. You rotated. That was the word
Correct.
you used. You rotated. And then she was going backwards into the
Well, she was
vehicle.
into the truck, and then so I'm the outside of the truck. That puts Miss Bass behind me
Yes. Okay.
because we're in the door jam of the truck.
In the door jam. How far away from the truck did you get before the altercation began? In terms of feet, what would you say?
Not even maybe a foot. Literally, just me
Mhm.
stepping down out of the truck, literally at the truck, but down. And then
Gotcha.
again, they're coming. This all
Yeah.
lasted less than a minute and a half.
Okay.
So that's
Thank you.
me just putting my hand up. It's trained. Go ahead. And I said it. I ain't nobody trying to fight you, Tamika.
Okay.
And as she said, she apologized and everything in the DRC.
All right.
She went to
So, all right, before we get to that, I'm not asking about that part. What I want to know next is, so then she is the person that is, with her, I would say her rear end and her back in the back of the truck,
correct.
in the driver's seat of the towards the
Correct. And
door.
not in, just kind of, we're leaned in because it's a higher
Okay.
truck. So she's leaned in a little bit. I'm here. That puts Bass, and she was the only one out there at this time.
All right. And so what are you testifying about Bass at this point in time?
That she was not breaking up the fight. That was the impression that she gave, but that she had began and was part of the fight.
What did she do?
And so this is the thing, because again, there was two, that's why I was asking Burkett. It was two different.
I'm only talking about the one at the doorwell right now.
Okay, so that one, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What
So
was she doing?
it was like, come on, get off of her, stop. And so that was the hit. Those were the hits.
She was saying get off her and stop at that point?
Correct. Because
Okay.
that's when she put her hands on me instead of going to get help. And she was trying to get.
Okay. And so then how did the fight end, that particular part of it?
So by this time, the owner and his barmaid, the gentleman, Lewis and Maurice, I can't even think his last name. By this time they had came out, or you could at least, I could hear their voices.
Okay.
Okay. So again, we're tussling and I could see Lewis pulling White away.
Okay.
But then there's like about 2-3 seconds and she turns around and comes back. So
before you go there, let's slow down. So he gets her away. I think during your initial testimony, you testified that he basically tossed her.
That was at the second. That was at the end of the second
one. Okay.
Yeah,
so
second round. There was 2 rounds.
So the first one, he just sort of pulls her away a little bit.
Right.
Is she able to break free?
Yes.
And she comes back at you.
Correct.
Now tell me about that fight.
So that's the second round. And then by now, again, they're trying to get us apart.
But tell me what happens. Does she come up? Does she hit you? Like, I want to know detail by detail what happens.
Well, we just locked up.
You locked up.
Locked up, yeah.
So there's not punches going back and forth?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay.
I mean,
so you're kind of locked up at this point.
Correct.
Okay. And then what happens?
So within a few seconds, I mean, it was that quick. Now Lewis pulls her. He's got her kind of like bear hugged, and he's off the ground. Like literally, he's picked her up and literally threw her in the building. And it was dark that night, so you could see the light. That when the door opened, I could see that it was them two. By now, there's no fight because again, I'm not fighting anybody. That's it. I mean, and in that split second is when I realized it's Bass is wrapped literally around my torso, and that's when she flung me, and I flung to the ground. That's when I hit the ground.
Okay, all right, and then that's when it's your testimony that she's put her hands on her gun and said,
"Yes, I got ready to get up, and she was like hit her side and was like, "Stay down, bitch."
Okay.
And that's what I said. I said, "Okay, that's how." I'm gonna teach you how to be a lady tonight. I'll see you on Main Street. And that was it. I stayed down and then she walked off and sashayed on into the building with a
What does that mean?
Pardon me?
What does I see you on Main Street mean?
Meaning I'm gonna call the police and we'll deal with this the right way because that's not how you deal with any altercation. And I just thought we were gonna be at the court on Main Street. I didn't realize
I see what
in
you
your
mean.
district.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I was trying to understand that terminology.
I apologize. Yes.
That's nothing to apologize for. I need to have understanding to make a decision. That's all. Okay. I asked a lot of questions. Does anyone have questions based on those questions?
Well, Your Honor, on Ms. Bass' part, I have 2 questions that I'd like to ask. One is
before we get to you, I got to go to the prosecutor first. Ms. Woods?
Yes, Judge. When Miss Bass threw you to the ground and then put her hand on her hip and told you to basically stay down, did you see a gun?
I did not see a gun. No, I just.
Did you know or were you aware if Miss Bass did carry firearms?
Yes, she
I'm going to
did.
object. What's the relevancy of that?
She flamboyant.
Judge, I mean, this comes into mind if she's aware that Miss Bass carries firearms in the past, and then she threatens her with an action of putting her hand on a hip like she has a firearm. I think that goes into what the victim would infer that she's possibly has a gun on her and is threatening her with a gun.
Judge, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Number one, she never said that she threatened her with a gun. Not even no clues to that effect. And for her to say even if Miss Bass had a gun, she never threatened her with a gun and never even that is just a prejudicial statement that should have never even come out.
Well, the reality is that she said that earlier today already. So that's not new stuff that just came out, first of all. But secondly, it goes to the complaining witness's state of mind as to whether she had fear at that time, as to whether she believed she had one or not. Whether or not it's true, that's a different story. But if she believed it, then that goes to her state of mind as to the fear, which is a part of the charge in this particular case. So I will allow it, but she just needs to answer that one question and we're done with that. We're not going any deeper into when, where, none of that. And the question really is, does she believe she had one based on however she believed it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything else, Miss Woods?
No, I mean, so
She's not charged with, you're not charging her with brandishing a weapon here, are you?
no, I'm just getting at the fact that, did Miss Kelly know of in the past that Miss Bass carried firearms?
All right. And she's answered the question too
Right.
sufficiently.
And but you didn't see a gun when she put her hand on.
No, she never pulled out a gun. She just made reference to it and she patted her hip.
Okay. That's what I was getting at, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Burkett, your witness.
Based on the question that you asked there, man, Miss Kelly, I get the impression that you were telling this honorable court that you were fighting more like ladies. Punches were not thrown. Is that correct?
No,
Or punches were thrown?
we weren't fighting like ladies.
Okay.
Ladies don't
Were
fight.
punches thrown? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Who threw the punches? Were both of you throwing punches?
No,
Only.
I couldn't make a fist. My nails were too long. You just seen the picture. So no, I didn't do no punching.
So all the punching was done by Miss White. Is
Bass
that
and
correct?
White. Yes.
Okay. Appreciate that. Now, on several occasions, you brought up to the fact that you were an officer of the court.
Correct.
On 12/6, when this incident happened, were you an officer of the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how was that? What were you? Were your job with the court system or what?
I was in charge of the second largest population of federal inmates that were returning. So meaning they were all active felons, all active federal inmates in this country. I moved them through the pandemic beyond that date, sir.
I got you. And you were employed in that position on December 6th when this incident
Correct.
occurred. Yes, got you. Now I want to ask you one other thing. I'm reading directly from the police report. It's on page 7. I just want to know, is this correct? Miss Kelly told me that while she was assaulted by Miss White, Miss Bass only threw her to the ground and told her to stay down. Is that a true statement?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Okay.
If you're reading it from the report, then I had to have said it.
Okay, yeah, you said that. You answered the question. And you never told the police that Miss Bass, threw any punches at you, did you?
If that's
No.
what you're reading, no.
Okay. One further question I want to ask you. Miss Prosecutor, I can't do it from my computer, but you can. One of your exhibits that shows Miss White, would you push that? I want the court to look at it.
I don't understand what you're saying. What are you wanting me to do?
You know what? I don't want you to do anything. I'm through.
Were you asking?
I'm
for?
more than happy to do it for you, Mr. Burkett.
I know. Well, I tell you what, I wasn't going to do it, but one of the exhibits that the police took, I guess it's 22-3, taken the night of the incident of Miss White. You have that exhibit there, correct?
I have photographs of, yeah,
Of
which,
Miss White. Uh, I can't do it from my computer, but could you post that up?
the photographs of Miss White is what you're asking for.
Yes, a picture of Miss White, just her head, and she
Judge,
has on
may
a
I
cap.
have permission to share my screen?
Okay.
Okay, that's one, and the
Is
other
this the photograph?
one. That's the photograph, yeah. Well, let me stay with that photo. Okay, that. Now, can you see that photograph, Miss Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I know you couldn't throw any punches because you had your fingernail thing, but how do you suppose she got that black eye? If you couldn't throw
She has black
punches?
eyes right now. Look at when you pull her out the cheek, peep black eyes.
Okay,
That don't
so
look
she
like a
keep,
black eye more than it look like a scratch. She
okay,
look
now I'm
like
talking
she
about
got
the
on
color
no
of the eye.
stress is what it looked like to me.
Okay, now I'm gonna show you another picture of her with the black eye, because we know you already told us you couldn't throw punches. I just want to know.
But I was defending myself, sir, but no, I didn't have a closed fist.
Okay, you were defending yourself, but she has a black eye, and I'm suggesting
Where are
that
you
black eye.
indicating the black eye at? You mean you talking about these bags under her eyes? Because that's
Okay,
not, it don't look like no black eye to me. This look like a scratch.
yeah, I got the scratch part. Push,
It's
Ms. Prosecutor,
been
could you
2
put the
years. I
other
want to
photo?
see if she had them same black eyes
Wait a
to
minute,
me. Let's see if
that's no
was.
question for you. Ms. Prosecutor, could you put the other picture up, please? Can you see that picture?
That's how she looked today, sir.
Oh, okay, that's good enough. So you didn't, so a fifth didn't do that, right?
There's no
And
way.
on the side of her face, huh?
There's no way. I couldn't make a fist. If you look at the nails,
Right, because
and them the longest nails I've had since 1997.
appreciate it.
I ain't made no
Thank
fist.
you. I don't have anything for the honor.
Thank you. Anything further? Ms. Woods?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, Judge, I'm sorry. I do have just one question, because I just want to clarify punches, or when you had testified that Miss Bass was behind you and she was hitting you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know whether she was hitting you with a punch or her hand or her arm? Were you able to actually see how
No,
she
I
was
did
hitting
not.
you?
I do not. I was engaged with Miss White.
But you could feel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did you feel?
Could you redo that question?
When you were feeling something, how did it feel?
I mean, it hurt. I don't know what
Okay.
it was, but I just know
But
it
it
wasn't.
felt like someone was hitting you on your
Right.
back?
I just knew it wasn't White because she was in front of me. And
Okay.
no time did she get behind me. She didn't reach over. She didn't reach around. Only other person that was out there until the two men came was Miss Bass, who was behind me trying to break up the fight, trying to get me and her apart. But at the time, get me out for White.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You may be excused, ma'am. And as a complaining witness, you're free to remain in the courtroom
Okay.
under the Victims' Rights Act.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next witness, Ms. Woods.
Yes, Judge. The people called Deputy Alex Phillips.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Deputy Phillips.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may lower your hand. And your witness, Ms. Woods.
Thank you, Judge. Deputy Phillips, could you please state your name again for the record?
Alex Phillips,
Okay. And Deputy, where are you currently employed?
the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. And in what capacity?
I work road patrol functions in Ypsilanti Township.
Okay. And were you working in that capacity on December 16th of 2022?
I was.
Okay. And on that date, were you involved in an investigation involving Tamika White and Terri Bass at 3011 East Michigan Avenue in Ypsilanti Township?
I was.
Okay. What is located at that address?
Currently,
At that time, when you went.
at the time, it was the Men Like Us club.
Okay. And what was the nature of the investigation?
We were dispatched to the location for an assault.
Okay. And do you recall what time you arrived at that address?
I don't off the top of my head, but I could look at the report.
Would looking at your police report refresh your recollection?
It would.
Judge, I know I can't hand him the police report. Do you have your police report in front of you?
I do.
I'll stipulate that it was 1:10 in the morning,
Okay.
if it helps.
Was it at 1:10 or 1:30?
Either one. Pick a.
I believe it was 1:30. Are you willing to stipulate to that?
I stipulate to that.
All right, stipulated that it was at 1:30.
Okay. And Deputy, were you working alone or did you have a partner?
I had a partner with me,
Who was the partner?
Deputy Bellis.
Okay. And do you recall, were you guys the first officers on scene?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And did you speak with anyone when you arrived at that address?
I spoke with Miss White and Miss Bass.
Okay. And when you interviewed Miss White and Miss Bass, did you speak with them together or did you question them separately?
They were together.
Okay. Is there a reason why you didn't separate them for your interview?
I was told that just the driver of the vehicle, Miss White, was the suspect.
Okay. And when you arrived on scene, was Miss White in her vehicle trying to drive away?
She was in the driver's seat. I don't know if she was trying to drive away, but she was in the vehicle.
Okay. Do you recall if the vehicle was on?
It was running, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you have to have her exit from her vehicle?
I did.
Okay. Do you see Miss Bass on Zoom?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe anything that she's wearing to point her out?
She was wearing a yellow sweater, yellow shirt with glasses. She has short hair.
May the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Terri Bass. When
Any objection, Mr. Burkett?
No, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
All right. The record shall reflect.
Okay. When you were speaking to Miss White, what did she tell you? Did she, first of all, wait, strike that. When you were speaking with Miss White and Miss Bass, did they ever mention anything about a text message regarding being on a shirt?
They did.
Okay. And from interviewing them, did it appear that that was what caused this incident?
Yes.
At any time, did Miss White or Miss Bass tell you that this incident had anything to do with a relationship with Mr. Lewis?
No.
Was Mr. Lewis even brought up at all in the conversation you had with Miss White or Miss Bass?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. When you were speaking with Miss White and Miss Bass, did it appear that they were both angry with the victim?
I don't think I gotta answer that.
Okay. When you were speaking with Miss Bass, isn't it true that what did she tell you?
What Miss Bass told me?
Mm-hmm.
She told me that I primarily interviewed Miss White, as I believe she was the suspect, but Miss Bass indicated that she was just trying to keep the parties separated, and at some point, Mrs. Kelly fell to the ground. And then
Sorry, go on.
then when I asked her to clarify what she meant by fell to the ground, she said she more sat on the ground.
Okay. And at any time did Miss Bass tell you that she pulled Miss Kelly? At any time did Miss Bass tell you that she pulled the victim, Miss Kelly?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. At any time did she tell you that it got forceful?
No.
You don't remember any of that conversation?
No, I do not.
Judge, may I have a minute to pull up my body-worn camera? Judge, may I have permission to share my screen?
Is it one that I see?
Are you trying to publish something? Has he seen it?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him about his body worn camera. Would watching your body worn camera refresh your recollection, Deputy?
Yes, it would.
I don't know. Wait a second. First of all, you can't just show him that because you're going to be showing it to me, and that's a trier of fact. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know if you want to take a pause so he reviews his body worn camera, but you can't just show it to me without it being admitted.
I believe I can admit it from asking him, do you recognize this? What are we looking at? And all of those things, Judge.
And what if I have things to object to being shown to the trier of fact?
I mean, I thought I could refresh recollection with anything. I'm not asking for
being shown to me. I am the trier of fact. That'd be like showing the video to the jury, asking it to refresh its recollection. You can't do that.
Then could Deputy Phillips have an opportunity to view that body worn camera to refresh his recollection, Judge?
Sure. You have
Yeah,
access. What? Mr. Burkett?
I'm sorry. That should have been done before the trial, but whatever you want on.
You have access to your video, Deputy Phillips?
I do, Your Honor. I have it pulled up.
All right. We'll give you a moment to review it.
Thank you, Judge. All right. So after watching your body worn camera, has your recollection been refreshed?
It has.
Okay. So let's go back to Miss Bass. What did she tell you about the incident?
She said during the altercation, she pulled Miss Kelly back away from Miss White.
Anything else?
She said it was a forceful pull.
Okay. And do you recall what Miss White remembered about the incident?
Miss White told me that the altercation started over an argument and they were hitting each other.
Did she remember exactly who started the fight or any of the fight at all?
She said she wasn't sure how it started.
Do you recall if paramedics were called?
They were requested. I do not recall if they made it out or not. I know they're when we checked their status, I believe it was about a 15-minute delay.
Do you recall why they were requested?
To check on Miss Kelly's injuries. I'm not sure further on that.
Okay. Do you recall Miss Bass, when you were interviewing her, that she called the victim a nitpicker? Do you recall any of that conversation?
I do not recall her using that word, no.
Okay. Or that she called her a troublemaker who's gone now, caused trouble and left. Do you remember any of this conversation at all?
I do not know.
This is really leading the witness, but I'll take it for what it's worth.
Are you objecting to leading or I mean,
absolutely, I'm objecting to her leading this witness.
So there's an objection to leading.
Judge, then I would rephrase. Do you recall any other conversations by the defendant made to you when you were interviewing them?
I talked to them for about 20 minutes about a variety of things, but I just recall them having issues with Miss Kelly.
Would watching your body worn camera refresh your recollection about things that the admissions and things that were said to you by Miss Bass? Would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
I thought he just watched his body worn camera.
Apparently he didn't watch all of it, Judge, because he was only gone for a few seconds.
Your Honor, now I'm going to start objecting to this. If we had a jury here, you wouldn't allow this. I mean, He testifies, she stops, wants him to read her body camera again. That's got to come to an end at some point.
What's your objection?
Well, this should have been done before the trial. I object to it. If he's not prepared to testify, then excuse him as a witness.
Judge, I mean, many times people need to have their recollection refreshed, even officers. I mean, it's commonplace in trials.
I agree that witnesses do have to have their recollections refreshed. This is what I'm going to do. And then after this, there is no more refreshing recollections. I'm going to go on a brief recess. He's going to have 3 to 5 minutes to refresh his recollection, and I'll be right back. And
Thank you,
anybody
Judge.
else, you want to talk to your client while we do this, Mr. Burkett?
I do, yes.
All right, thank you. We'll put you in a breakout room with her.
Sure.
All right, the 14B District Court is back in session. We're back on the record in the case of State of Michigan versus Terri Bass. Deputy Phillips, you're still on oath. If you could proceed, Ms. Woods.
Thank you, Judge. And Deputy Phillips, has your recollection been refreshed?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you please tell the court about those comments?
Miss Bass called Miss Kelly a nitpicker and a troublemaker and says that she, being Miss Kelly, just shows up, causes trouble, and then leaves.
Okay. Did you observe any injuries on either Miss White or Miss Bass?
Miss Bass had no injuries. Miss White did have a cut under her eye.
Okay. And did you take any photographs?
I did, yes.
And who did you take photographs of?
Miss White.
Okay. I have no further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Burkett, your witness.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, officer. You said you did, when you arrived at the scene, did you say that Miss White and Miss Bass were attempting to leave the scene, or were they just sitting waiting?
They're just sitting in the car. The vehicle was running, but Miss White was in the driver's seat.
Okay. It was cold outside, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay. And all right. Now, when you interviewed them, you were told, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were told by Miss Bass the only thing she did was trying to break up the fight. Were you told that?
Yes.
Okay. And that she was not involved in the fight whatsoever. Is that correct, sir? That's what
Yes.
you were told. Okay. Other than to try to break it up. Now, when you interviewed Miss Kelly, first of all, did she ever tell you that Miss Bass ever hit her, physically hit her?
Sir, I did not interview Miss Kelly. That was my partner.
Okay, but you went over his reports and you worked on this together, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so you worked, like I said, you worked on this as a team. Isn't it true that all she said was that Miss Bass only attempted to break up the fight, correct?
Judge, I'm going to object to hearsay.
Well, how can it be hearsay? You've been asking this question all morning.
Well, you're asking him what his officer told him, what the other officer told him. I'm only asking him questions about what he heard, firsthand knowledge, not secondhand knowledge.
Let me put it this way, sir. You and the other police officer worked as a team on this case, correct?
Yes.
You already answered that question. Are you the OIC, sir?
No, Your Honor. Deputy Bellis was. He's currently on leave.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this, sir. You were aware, did you ever yourself interview artists?
Did I interview artists?
Yes.
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Isn't it true, sir, and I'm reading from the police report, that Miss Kelly told you that she had viewed a video that artists had made of the scene? It's in the report. Did you read that part of the report?
Again, Judge, this is not the correct witness This
you
would
just
be
want to say?
hearsay.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear you.
Why is it not hearsay, sir?
Because this is he and his partner work together as a team on this report. And I'm only asking him if the report reflects that, would he agree with it?
Well, that wasn't the question, but secondly, do you object to that question, Ms. Woods?
What was the exact question, Judge?
The question is if the report reflects that Ms. Kelly told Officer Bellis that the video was taken by Lewis and shared by Lewis, would he agree with that?
Again, I believe that would be hearsay, Judge, because Deputy Phillips did not interview Mr. Lewis, and he would not have firsthand knowledge.
That's interesting. I don't know if that's hearsay. He gets to say whether he agrees with it or not. But then I don't think it can go any further than that. He can say yes or no, or I don't know. I don't think it's hearsay for that question, the way it's phrased right there.
So the question is whether Deputy Bellis got video from Mr. Lewis?
No, the question is whether or not Deputy Bellis received that information. Does he agree with that being in the report?
Yeah, again, I would,
I heard your objection.
yeah, so.
And if he doesn't know, he can say he doesn't know because it's not firsthand knowledge, but that's up to him. What do you agree with that statement, sir? Do you know?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Prior to your coming to court today to testify, I would assume as a trained officer, you read all the reports on that happened in this particular case. Is that correct?
I did read the report, yes.
And we have refreshed your memory several times during the trial. So when we went back to refresh your memory, didn't you read in that report that Ms. Kelly said that video was made by artists and shown to her and several other people? Did you read that?
Yes, in Deputy Bellis's report, yes.
Yes. Okay. My question is, sir, do you know any reason you all didn't get a copy of that video if it showed us everything here? But I know you're not the officer in charge, but somebody's got to represent the officer in charge. Why don't we have that video?
I can't answer that, sir.
Okay. Who could I get to answer that? The officer in charge? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
Anything further for Miss Deputy Phillips, Ms. Woods?
I guess just to follow up on that question, isn't it true that there is no video of this incident, Deputy Phillips?
How many
I didn't
members?
hear that.
From that evidence, there is no video that we have, is that correct?
Well, how does he gonna know that?
You can
Objection,
say
Your Honor.
whether they have a video.
We don't have a video, so
The question is whether they have a video. She's not asking whether a video exists because I've already said unless she can produce some evidence that some follow-up was done and it doesn't exist, you can't say whether it exists or not. You can only say whether you have it or not.
So Deputy Phillips, are you aware of a video of the incident being in police evidence?
No.
No further questions, Judge.
Judge, I don't have anything for you.
All right. May Deputy Phillips be excused?
Yes,
ma'am.
Judge.
You are welcome. You are excused. You're welcome to stay as, I don't know if you're serving in her today in any other capacity or not, but.
Well, maybe he should just stay because he is my de facto officer in charge, and I don't know if I'm going to need him for any rebuttal or anything like that, Judge.
Well, that brings up an interesting point because if he's
Yes.
OIC, then in fact, it's not hearsay. If he's not the OIC, then it is hearsay. So that's why I asked whether he's the OIC or not. You can't have
Well,
a vote.
Sorry, Judge, Deputy Bellis was the, OIC in this case, but he's out on leave. So Deputy Phillips came in and did the subpoenas and basically I need someone, an OIC, to do those things.
Well, if
So,
he is the OIC, then the question of whether or not the video, someone was told that in a police report is not hearsay. That's the way the rule works. Because he can act as anybody in that report.
And that's what I was getting at.
yeah, I guess I'm confused because he did testify that there is no footage. So I guess I'm just a little confused. I mean, we
Talking
all
about
have
the
the
part
same
where you
police
said
report.
that it was hearsay. You said it was hearsay for him to answer whether or not Deputy Bellis was told that.
Well, because he didn't have any firsthand knowledge of it was why I was saying it was hearsay, Judge.
That doesn't work with an OIC is what I'm telling you, Miss Woods.
Okay. Then, he answered the question. Do you want him to?
Actually, he didn't. I ruled that he didn't have to answer that particular question. I said he could answer as to whether he agreed with the fact that it was in a report or not. Anyway, it's nuanced enough. Mr. Burkett, do you have any other thing you want to say about that issue?
Well, yes, I do. I've never had a case where the officer in charge don't testify, and then they don't want the reports to come in because it's hearsay. That's the purpose of having an officer in charge, because he interviewed all the reports and should be able to testify of what's in the reports. But I think for my next witness, I think all that will be cleared up in a sense for the next stage.
All right, then that's what we'll do.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Woods, anything else from you today?
No, Judge.
So you rest at this time?
Yes, Judge, the people rest.
All right, thank you. You may, the prosecution has rested. Is there any motions or anything in the interim time period?
Before the prosecution rests, Your Honor, the one motion I want to rest is this, that I insisted that the prosecutor put on the witness list. I'm trying to find the witness list now. Artis Lewis. He was a raised justice witness. You've heard testimony that he had a film of this whole incident. The burden is on the prosecutor, and they listed him, when I say him, Artis Lewis, as a witness because he's a raised justice witness. Now they want to arrest without putting him on the stand, and that's crucial to our case. And I know theoretically we can ask for adverse instruction, but no, it's worth more than an adverse instruction because it's a direct violation of due process. They got the main witness who witnessed this, who videoed this. The complainant said she's seen the video, and now they don't have it. And he's on their witness list that they were going to produce him at the trial, and they don't do it. I think behind that, we're entitled to a direct verdict, and that's what I'd ask you to do.
Judge, just to be clear, on my witness list there, I listed May call. And a matter of fact, I emailed Mr. Burkett after we interviewed Mr. Lewis, who didn't remember anything, had nothing to add, had said he'd never had a video. He talked to the officer in charge, never had a video. There is no video of the incident, is what Mr. Lewis said. He didn't remember anything. This had happened 3 years ago. I emailed Mr. Burkett. I gave him the information. I said, I don't believe he helps the case at all, so we're not going to call him as a witness. I spoke to Mr. Lewis and I said, do you have permission for me to tell this to defense counsel and to also give your phone number to defense counsel so he may call you if he wants to interview you, to make sure that I'm not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes and that I'm being truthful. I emailed that to Mr. Burkett 2 weeks ago. He had all of this information that we weren't going to call Mr. Lewis because he didn't have any information to add, and he didn't have a video. And that's what's in the police report, is there is no video. And I gave him Mr. Lewis's phone number. And, you know, so I told him ahead of time, we're not calling him as a witness. And you know what? Mr. Burkett could have called him, could have interviewed him, and also could have called him as a witness if he thought it was necessary. That's why I sent him that email to give him the heads up, Judge. And now he's going to come here and make this argument, which I don't even think it, because I don't need Mr. Lewis to make my case. If a witness doesn't know anything, doesn't remember anything, and doesn't have a video, why would I call him? So I'm confused as to why Mr. Burkett is even bringing that up.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes, it's your motion for a directed verdict. You may respond.
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, when you put a witness on the witness list that you're going to call, I would agree. She told me, she did write me and said, he says he don't know anything. But that's not the way you do it. You file a motion with the court and says, this is a witness that we have listed as and we have promised to produce him at trial. Now there's been testimony and he says he doesn't know anything. Their complainant says he had a video of this whole thing. Now, she's saying he just said he doesn't want to do it. The issue is, Mr. Lewis don't want to come to court out here. And he tells the prosecutor one thing. I didn't call him and go into this because he's been subpoenaed to come to court. And he should
He
be
hasn't
here.
been, though. Has he? Has he been subpoenaed to come to court?
She told me she was subpoenaed him.
Judge, I told you, no, he was not subpoenaed. And I put that in my email that I was not subpoenaing him. And that was the reason why. And I gave him the phone number and said, you're more than welcome to interview Mr. Lewis if you like. If you want him as a witness, you can subpoena him. You can call him as a witness. I don't think it's helpful to either of our cases, Judge. And I gave him the number. I gave him the information. Let him know weeks ahead of time that I wasn't calling him as a witness. And at no time on my witness list do I say I'm definitely calling these witnesses. I underlie I may call. And when I realized I wasn't going to call him because I don't think he would have helped either of our cases, that I reached out to Mr. Burkett and put it now in his, you know, in his plate. What does he want to do? Does he want to call the witness? Does he want to subpoena the witness? Does he want to interview the witness? And he did nothing. And then he's going to come here and complain to the court and make this argument, which I don't understand why he's doing that.
Well, you don't have an officer in charge of the case, so you can't sit up and tell the court he doesn't know anything about the case, because that's what your officer in charge could do. You can't have some officer who knows nothing about the case. You don't produce officer in charge. You file a witness, you don't produce him. You tell me this is not a violation of due process?
Mr. Burkett, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. So first of all, a motion for directed verdict reviews the evidence in the light most favorable to the non-moving party. In this particular case, the non-moving party is the prosecutor. So I have to review the evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution. So let's get down to what you're arguing here. Your argument is that you're entitled to a directed verdict because they didn't produce a witness that is listed on their witness list as a may produce. They don't have obligation to produce anybody unless you have told them that you want them produced, and then they have a duty to assist you with subpoenaing them to come here. Did that happen? So if that didn't happen, if you didn't tell them you want them here and you are having trouble subpoenaing them to come here, you can't come to court then and say they didn't produce a witness. The obligation is not actually on them. It's on them to meet their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, whether they have met that burden is a different story. But the issue is that they have the burden of producing and meeting a beyond a reasonable doubt. And whether they think Artist Lewis helps them in that case or not, that's their decision, unless you make a specific request to get Mr. Lewis here and to assist you with that. And I'm being told, and you're not disputing that she told you that she wasn't even bringing them here. So as such, there is no directed verdict based on that alone because you haven't asked for assistance to get Mr. Lewis here. Are you asking for this court to give you that assistance at this point?
No, ma'am. We'll finish the trial. I'm just saying that the prosecutor, he's a raised justified witness without me even asking for it. The prosecutor should have.
No, they don't have to. That's not the way the law works, Mr. Burkett. All right.
Stand.
Next.
That's all I have to say.
All right. So your case in chief at this point.
You ready for my case?
That is correct.
Well, Judge, you got to get that frown off your face because I'm going to move fast here. Okay? You're making me feel bad here. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for Ms. White to come in now? Are you calling her first?
I think I will.
All right.
Please.
I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You can call Ms. Bass. You can call Ms. I don't care. I'm just asking which one.
Judge, you always tell me what to do. And
No,
when I
I'm
don't,
not trying to tell you how to present your case on behalf of Ms. Bass. Which do you want to do first?
Yeah, let me let me think. I tell you what, let me do Miss Bass first.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Bass.
Judge, you know I was just joking about your frowning now. Come on.
That's okay. I have many of those. They're going to be
Don't I
confirmed
know it?
at some point. Ms. Bass, first of all, before we begin testimony here, ma'am, you realize you have a right to testify in this particular case or to not testify. If you do choose to testify, you're waiving any right you have a Fifth Amendment right to not testify. You'd be waiving that right and subjecting yourself to questioning by the prosecution as well. Anything you say can and will in all likelihood be used against you. Do you fully understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
And you want to give up that right and testify here today?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, you may proceed, Mr. Burkett.
Thank you. Ma'am, just for the record, state your full name, please.
Terri Lynn Bass.
And Ms. Bass, is it true that you are the defendant in this case?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Bass, I want to go just a quick background because it's kind of late. Where do you reside at? You don't have to give your address. What city and county?
Oh, I live in Inkster, Wayne County.
Okay. And are you employed?
I just recently retired. And I have, from one job, but I have another job. I have two jobs. So yeah.
Where were you employed?
The one I just left, it was called Michigan Heart through St. Joe's Hospital. And my second job, I worked called Huron Gastro through St. Joe's Hospital.
Okay. Now, I want to take you back to this incident. You've heard testimony so far in this case, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you know this incident very well?
Yes.
Okay. And I need you to give us some light on certain things. First of all, you were present during this whole time. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Which time are you referring to? Are you talking about during testimony today, or are we back on December 16th?
No, Your Honor, I thought I told you the question I'm going to be asking will be related to December 16th.
So we're on December 16th? Okay. Thank you.
22. Thank you. Okay. Now, tell us, I'm going to start late in the evening. What were you doing? And who were you with?
So it was myself, Tamika White, and Artist Lewis.
Okay.
It was, so the Men Like Us building had been open up for a year. So we basically been open up for a year. And me and Tamika White was setting up for our anniversary party that Saturday, because this happened on the Friday. So we were setting up for our anniversary party for, I guess, the 17th.
Okay. Now, okay. And would I be correct in assuming it's around 1 o'clock in the morning?
We had been there longer than that, but yes.
Oh, okay. So something happened and you went outside.
Yes.
What happened?
So we were finishing up because we had been climbing ladders, hanging up balloons and stuff like that. So we were finishing up our decoration, me and Miss White. And as we were wrapping up and put things together, Miss White noticed some lights outside, car headlights outside. So she went to go look to see what the lights was. She said, never mind. And then she went back. She said, no, let me go see who it is, like that. So we walked to the door. Her and I wasn't going to let her walk by herself because Mr. Lewis was in the back and her and I was the only one in the front area. So we walked out. She noticed it was Rozana. So she turned around, went back in. She said, no, I'm not going to say nothing. Then she went back out and said, nope, I got to say it. I got to say it. So she went out there.
Miss White saying it. Miss White is saying
about
it.
I'm sorry, about the name on the t-shirt and stuff like that.
Okay.
So she went outside. I tried to stop her. The Miss White, the first time. I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna let them go because it's between them and not me. So she asked a couple questions to Miss Kelly about putting her name on the t-shirt. I heard you was gonna put my name on the t-shirt. And Miss Kelly said a couple words back to her. And then
What was the atmosphere?
it was cold. We were getting ready to go home.
No, I don't mean that. Were they friendly to each other or what?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, no.
Okay.
So then Miss White proceeded to say, and I think it set Miss Kelly off. She proceeded to say, that's why you lost. I don't know.
Judge, I'm going to object to hearsay.
I was standing there though. I was there when it was
This
said.
is not hearsay. Oh, go ahead.
Why is it not hearsay, Mr. Burkett?
Because she asked all the police officers and everybody what was said and what Miss White said and what she didn't say. Now we're asking her to verify the things that the prosecutor has already opened the door to. She asked the police officer, what did Miss White say? What did she do? Oh, didn't she say this? Now we're trying to clear that by somebody who was there. She opened the door to what Miss White was
So
saying.
you think if so, it's your opinion that if someone allows hearsay in, then it gets to just keep coming in?
Absolutely not. But when you open the door to a certain topic, and what we're going is, why did this fight happen? And the prosecutor opened the door as to why this fight started. About names on the t-shirts and name calling. So it wouldn't be here if she hadn't opened the door to that, I wouldn't be allowed to ask it because it's hearsay.
Ms. Woods?
Judge, it's not that I'm objecting to letting the court know what this whole issue was about. It's hearsay that she's, repeating an out-of-court statement used for the truth of the matter. And is there an exception?
You did that already.
I'm sorry?
His point is that you've done that already, so therefore they get to explore it.
Well, Judge, no, that's not how it works. I mean, he has objection powers. He could have objected. It's not my fault that he didn't object to any things that now he's saying, oh, because I didn't object and she got some hearsay in that I would argue that wasn't hearsay, but it doesn't open the door and now somehow, he can ask all kinds of questions that have to do with hearsay. I don't know that rule, Judge. I'm unfamiliar with, I've never heard that rule before, so I don't think there is no opening a door to hearsay.
Unfortunately for Mr. Burkett, that's correct. There is no exception to opening the door for hearsay. If you don't object, it doesn't mean that it gets to come in later. So unless there's a different exception that you have for about what she's going to say, it is hearsay and won't be allowed.
Okay, it also goes to the state of mind of Miss White, why Miss White did certain things, or why Miss White said certain things, and because
you can do that for Miss White, but you can't do that through Miss Bass for Miss White.
Okay.
But you're telling me it's not being told for the truth of the matter asserted. That's a different thing, but that's not what you're saying to me.
No, that was one of the things. I'm saying that she opened the door to that, and I'm not arguing with this court. I never argue with the court, but I'm not suggesting to this court that this is true, or what she's saying is true. I'm saying this is what she was saying was the basis of the fight. And then
So
whether
you're
it's true or
saying,
not,
so what you're saying is you're not admitting it for the truth of the matter asserted,
that's correct, Your Honor.
but to show what happened next?
Yes,
Okay. I'll allow it for those reasons.
that's kind of you. I appreciate that, Judge.
Ms. Bass,
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
Okay. So, like I said,
What did Miss White say to her to start this fight?
so as they were standing at the truck, Miss White said, "That's why you lost your job, because you were," can I cuss?
You can
Give us
say
a-
what you said.
Okay, because you were fucking the inmate, you homeless bitch. And then they got the, and then she, yeah, and then they got the tussling. And then when I looked around, after, I looked, by the time I looked around, because that quieted down a little bit, and all I heard was, all I seen was Rozana Kelly on top of Miss White inside of the truck. I don't know how, but Miss White wrestled herself up and got Miss Kelly off of her, and then they commenced the fighting outside of the truck. Should I go on?
Please.
So at this point, again, I'm not getting in it. It's not my fight. It's a one-on-one fight. So there was a bunch of commotion going on. I guess Mr. Lewis at that point had came from the back towards his office and heard what was going on up front outside. Because again, it was just us four there. And he came out the door. He grabbed Miss White. Miss Kelly was still going after Miss White. So that's when I grabbed Miss White, and to keep from charging at Miss White, I grabbed Miss Kelly to keep her from charging at Miss White. Sorry if I got the names mixed up. And that's when there's like a little curb type thing. And when I swung around, I almost lost my footing too. She lost her footing too, and she hit the ground. But she did not one time hit her back on the ground. I did not hit her. That was the first time I touched Miss Kelly. It was to stop.
Why did you grab her in the first place?
Because Artist Lewis had Tamika, and Miss White was, I'm sorry. Artist Lewis had Miss White like this, and then Miss Kelly was going after Miss White still. So that's when I did like this, and wouldn't let
And
her.
for the record, her arm is folded around her body in sort of a bear hug type.
Yeah, I just grabbed her I grabbed her like this, and then where we were standing at, it was like a little ledge, like a curb, and I just grabbed her. I weigh 154 pounds, so it might have been forceful, but I grabbed her to keep from charging at Miss White, and I did like this, and I think she lost her footing, and she hit the ground, because like I said, there was a like a curb that so yes. Sorry, I stood up. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, why did you hit Miss Kelly?
I didn't.
Are you telling us you never hit Miss Kelly?
I never did.
Okay. You grabbed her. Did you throw her on the ground, or you both went on the ground?
No, she fell on the ground. Well, it not even falling. It went to a sitting position.
Okay. Now, Miss Kelly's told us that there were other people that came out of the bar with her, and with other people standing around. Who were those other people?
Like I said, it was just us four there when it began. The other two people that had just pulled up in the parking lot when it was over. So by the time they pulled up in the parking lot, only thing they didn't see the fight between her and Miss White. Only thing they seen was her sitting on the ground. Okay. Because nobody else was there.
You're telling this honorable court then that you never hit her?
No, I did. Yes, sir. Never hit her.
Were you present when Miss White told the police that you never hit her?
Yes.
Okay, and of course you agree with that.
Yes.
Now, Kelly said that you guys were trying to, I guess, leave or run away before the police got there.
No,
Is that what happened?
no, we were warming up our cars. Just merely warming the cars.
This was in December.
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you know she had called the police?
She said she was.
Okay. Did that surprise you?
No.
Why?
She's known to start stuff and then call the police when it doesn't go her way.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. You say it was only 3 people working.
Yes.
You, Miss Kelly, and Artist.
White.
No,
Miss-
not Kelly. Miss White.
Yes.
Miss Kelly testified that a female bartender was there that night. Is that correct?
No.
You telling it was only you 2?
Yes.
Only you 3?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Kelly said that in a real sense that she Artist kind of picked Miss White up and threw her into the building or threw her somewhere. Did you see that?
No.
Tell us exactly what you saw Artist do.
So after the fight was over and Miss Kelly was sitting on the ground, me and Tamika White walked into the building together. Artist Lewis stayed outside for a minute because me and Miss White, we went to the bathroom to look at her face.
Okay, how was the face? Was it different after the fight than it was before the fight?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, the scratch up under her eye and her the eye was red.
Okay, but you heard Miss Kelly say she couldn't throw a fist because she had long fingernails.
Right.
When you saw her, was she just slapping her or was she actually throwing blows?
They both were throwing blows.
Okay, was Tamika White, was she throwing blows?
Yes.
Okay. And it came out some kind of way that when she was on the ground, you told her to stay on the ground. Is that true?
No, sir.
Can you think of any reason that you know of why Miss Kelly would lie on you?
My
Cause for speculation, Judge.
okay.
I withdraw it.
Thank
Let
you.
me ask you, yeah, do you know many people in the community who know Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Judge, again, irrelevant as
How's that
to
irrelevant? I
who
can
in
ask you a
the,
question.
how is it relevant to this fight as to
Okay, you
what
just,
people in the community
all right,
know?
everybody's, stop. She just objected to relevance. How is that relevant, Mr. Burkett?
Because I want to know if she knows what her reputation is for being truthful. And the way you get to that is by asking her, does she know other people in the community who knows Miss White? And when she answers that, I can say, do you know what her reputation is?
Judge,
Miss
that's
Kelly,
character evidence, and that would be
Yes.
improper in a case like this.
I
where do you
believe
get
that,
that from?
what is the,
Okay.
I guess you better pull out evidence rules. Which court rule are you referring to, Mr. Burkett, that you think you get to have this in?
That is just journal, but I tell you what, it's getting late. I'll go past that, okay?
Okay.
We don't have to worry about that. Now, there's been some testimony that you, first of all, that you own a gun. Is that true?
Yes.
Do you have a permit to own and carry a gun?
Yes.
In any way that night, did you threaten her with a gun?
No.
No. Did you have the gun on you when you were out there wrestling with her?
No.
Why not?
It was a Friday. I worked at a hospital, and you can't have your guns at the hospital.
So you didn't have a gun with you that night, is that
No,
correct?
sir. No, sir.
Okay. And you understand the rules of carrying a gun, correct?
Yes.
You know the rules. Are you familiar with the rules that if you carry a gun and have a gun and the police stop you, you got to tell them I had a gun, even if it's letting them by.
Yes.
And you didn't do that. You didn't tell the police you had a gun,
No.
and because you didn't have one that night.
Right.
Okay. And after that, have you had any more contact with Miss Kelly?
No. No, sir.
In your opinion, you heard what Miss Kelly's views of what happened that night.
Yes.
Is that consistent with what you believe happened?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Your witness, Ms. Woods?
Good afternoon, Miss Bass. You're currently friends with Miss White, isn't that true?
Yes.
And close friends, right?
Yes.
And back when this incident happened, you were friends with Miss White at that time as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Miss White told you before you went out to the building that she was gonna confront Miss Kelly, isn't that true?
You're asking hearsay information now? Because that would be hearsay. Or you want to skip it again?
Isn't that correct?
Did
No,
you
the
to
objection
respond
is-
to the objection, Ms. Woods?
I'm
He's
sorry.
objecting to hearsay.
Yes.
I'm not asking for hearsay. I'm just asking for a yes or no answer. I'm not asking her to repeat. And she already said on that she told her that she was going to go out and she already testified that she was going to go out and confront her about that message about being on a t-shirt. She testified to that, Judge.
And you should have objected if it was hearsay, as you did later on. So if it was hearsay then, it's hearsay now.
What's your response to the hearsay objection? We just went through this. So just because you didn't object and it came in doesn't mean that you get to use it. What's your response?
Judge, I'm not eliciting hearsay. I am asking a yes or no question about a statement that already came in.
You're asking her if she told you that. You're listening the answer to whether she said something to her, which is hearsay.
Well, Judge, I'm not asking her to repeat the question. I'm asking her whether that was true.
Whether it's true that she said that.
That was told to her, yes.
That is hearsay.
Okay, Judge, I'll strike my question. And
Unless you're trying to tell me you're using it for some other purpose. What?
well, it's not to prove the truth of the matter. It's just to get the state of mind as to when they were going outside.
All right. Thank you. I'll allow it for that reason. You both better get better adept at saying what these exceptions are. I'm just going to tell you both that. Go ahead.
Yes, Judge. Isn't that true, Miss Bass?
Yes.
Okay. And it's also true that you walked outside with Miss White, correct?
Yes.
Knowing full well that she was going to approach Miss Kelly, correct?
Yes.
And you were also angry at Miss Kelly, isn't that true?
No.
You weren't angry at Miss Kelly at all. Is that what you're telling the court today?
Not when they were fighting. No.
Okay. You believe that Miss Kelly was a nitpicker, correct?
Yes.
And you called her a troublemaker.
Yes.
And that you said she showed up, caused trouble, and left. Is that what you told the officer?
I don't remember saying that.
You also told the officer that you pulled her, it was forceful, and then she hit the ground. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about, you knew about the t-shirt message, correct?
Yes.
And did that upset you?
No.
That didn't upset you?
No.
That the fact that you believed that Miss Kelly was threatening to kill Miss White, that didn't upset you?
No.
That is not part of the evidence. I object to that.
All right. There's an objection that the question called for evidence statement's not in evidence.
Yes.
Well, Judge, I believe they testified as to what that means on a t-shirt, right? It
Right,
means
but no one testified that she believed that there was a threat to kill. That you didn't ask her that and you assumed that.
well, she said yes, that she did believe that.
There's an
Judge.
objection. She did not say yes, she did believe that. She never said
Okay.
that.
Okay,
So if you want to ask her that question, you're free to do that, but that is
right.
assuming, making a statement that's not in evidence. You base your whole question on something that hadn't been introduced.
Okay. So, Miss Bass, it's true that you were upset that Miss Kelly had made that post about what you assumed was putting Miss White on a t-shirt. Is that correct?
No,
Okay. That didn't upset you.
no,
Okay. You were interviewed by police officers right after this incident, correct?
yes,
And at no time did you ever tell the police that Miss Kelly was jealous of Miss White because she was having sex with Mr. Lewis. Isn't that correct?
I don't remember that. It's been several years.
And it's true that you frequently carry a gun. Isn't that true?
I carry a gun on the weekend.
Just on the weekends?
I work during the week. If I go out towards Detroit, then I'll carry my gun, and then on the weekend.
Okay. And when this fight broke out between Miss Kelly and Miss White, did you call for help? You didn't. Isn't that true?
Right.
And it's true you didn't even try to get help.
Oh, for what?
That's true. Is that a true statement? You did not try to get any help.
I tried to stop it. I tried to stop Miss White from going out there, but no, I didn't.
So as the fight is going on between Miss Kelly and Miss White, Mr. Lewis was in the building just feet away. Isn't that correct?
Nope, he was in the back part of the building, and it takes longer to get to the back and come back out. Yes, he was in the back.
And at no time did you try to have him come help break up the fight. Isn't that true?
I didn't try to break it up until he came out and grabbed Miss White. That's when I tried to break it up. I let him fight. Telling you the truth, I let him fight. Them too.
And then you testified that you only tried to break up the fight by putting your hands around her waist and throwing her to the ground. Is that correct?
I didn't say throwing. I said put my arms around her and swung her around. I didn't say throwing. She lost her footing and she sat on the ground. She hit the ground. I didn't say throwing.
And so your testimony today is that the whole time they were fighting, you did nothing.
Yes, ma'am. I did nothing.
You didn't go get help,
Nope.
correct?
Nope.
And you just sat there and watched while your friend was fighting Miss Kelly, correct?
Yep, one-on-one. Yes, I did.
And you didn't try breaking up that fight at all until after Mr. Artist came, is that correct?
Yes.
There's an objection to ask and answer.
Oh, sorry, Judge. I have no further questions, Judge.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
I have questions. Ms. Bass, you
Yes.
said that Miss White said those very ugly things to Miss Kelly. And then who threw the first punch? What happened?
Unfortunately, I didn't see that part. Before, like I said, before I knew it, they were in the truck and
What were you doing that you didn't see that part? What were you doing that you did not see that part?
It happened so fast. So I don't know who I heard the words, but the altercation happened so fast. I don't know who threw the first punch because it happened quickly.
All right. May this witness be excused.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, next witness.
Will be Miss White. And I'm cognizant of the time, so I'm going to be real quick.
All right, we're gonna let Miss White in. Now, I want to know what happened down here. And right now, anyway, go ahead. All right, thank you. All right, and Miss Tamika White, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. For the record, you identify yourself, please.
Tamika White.
And Ms. White, I'm cognizant of the time here. I'm going to ask you just a few questions. I'm going to be dealing mostly with the date of 12/16/22.
Okay.
So real quick, what happened on that date around 1 o'clock in the morning?
We were finishing getting ready for our anniversary party. It was flirty. Terry Bass, Artist Lewis, and myself. We were, I saw lights out in the parking lot. I figured I'd go see what the lights was about. And I saw Rozana Kelly. Then I went back and I said, I'm going to ask her about the post she made. When I seen Rozana, I said, who you going to put on the t-shirt? And then I called her more names. I called her, excuse my language, I called her a homeless whore. And I said, you was fucking the inmates. And I was calling her trifling and all kinds of stuff. And she was inside of the truck door. And we got to fighting inside of the truck door. Somehow I ended up on the seat and she was on top of me. I think I must have kicked her off of me or something. And we separated and we got to fighting again. I know Artist was holding me and I remember punching her in her side, giving her like some body blows, punching her. And then the fight got broken up again. And that's all I recall. We were separated again.
Let me ask you this real quickly. When you all were fighting, what was Miss Bass doing?
She was, I think she was standing there, but she was just standing there.
Okay. Did you see Miss Bass hit anybody?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did you ever tell that to the police that Miss Bass was not involved in that fight?
Correct. I told her she was just breaking the fight up.
Did Artist pick you up or someone throw you into a wall or something?
He did not pick me up and throw me nowhere.
Okay, all right. It's my understanding that as the fight was getting underway, there was another bartender there and a couple other people there. Tell me who those other people were.
There was no bartender there. It was only myself, Artist, and Terri in the building that night. There was no bartender.
Are you sure about that?
I am 100% positive because we was tired getting ready to close up and go home.
Okay. Why did you go out there and confront her?
Because she made a post. So I had, just take it back, I had rolled past his house. She was there and I knocked on the door. He came out and I asked him why she there. He said her mother put her out. She's homeless. So him and I left. We came back to my house. Then the next thing I know, like the next day or so, she made a post about being a stalker and you're gonna end up on a t-shirt. And she has made previous posts about me using my name, First Lady.
What does First Lady mean?
I'm the first lady of the club, and that because he was artist is the president, and we dating, so I put first lady on my name on my vest.
So the court can understand, all of you all, with the exception of her, own motorcycles, correct?
Yes, I own a motorcycle. Artist owns a motorcycle, and yeah,
Terry Bass owns a motorcycle.
and Terri Bass, yes, owns a motorcycle.
And you all traveled around the country on the motorcycles, is that correct?
We have traveled with our motorcycles, yes.
Judge, I'm going to object to relevance. I don't know what being in a motorcycle club and traveling on motorcycles has to do with this case.
I'm moving on. I'm moving on. The court's going to want to know that. Well, the question you can believe is going to ask you this. Were you jealous of her?
Was I jealous of?
Well, yeah, seeing your boyfriend, or the person you with, and another woman spending the night with him, did that make you jealous?
Of course.
You were angry with her?
Of course.
Okay. Now, the night of the fight, and you're going to be asked this question too. Who threw the first punch? Did you know?
I can't recall. I don't know. I just defend myself.
Okay. Do you remember a couple of years ago being in front of this honorable court here, and this court asked you the same question? Who threw the first punch? Do you remember what your answer was? If not, I'll remind you. To this court, I'm being honest. I really don't know. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I did say that. I don't know who threw the first punch.
Okay. But you were angry with her anyway.
Yes.
Did you receive any injuries?
I had a cut over my eye, and then the next day my lips swelled up. I guess, yeah, my lips swelled the next day.
I looked at the picture and your eyes were black. Are your eyes always black like that?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. And I'm sure you regret this incident happened.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, you didn't see Terri hit anybody. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. She did not hit anybody.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm through. I mean, I have no more questions.
Ms. Woods?
Yes, Judge, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. White.
Good afternoon.
So it's true, when you were in the club, you told Miss Bass that you were going to go talk to Miss Kelly about that post about the t-shirt, correct?
That's correct.
And Miss Bass went outside with you as you confronted Miss Kelly, correct?
Yes.
And it's true, when the officers asked you how it started or who threw the first punch, you were unable to give them any of that information, correct?
I told them I do not recall who threw the first punch.
Right. And when the officer asked you if it was punching, hitting, slapping, or hair pulling, you said it was all of the above, correct?
I don't recall those exact words, but we fought.
Okay.
There was a fight.
When you approached Miss Kelly, at no time did you mention anything about Miss Kelly being jealous because of your relationship with Mr. Lewis. Isn't that true?
That's true. I never said anything about her being jealous.
Okay. And you just testified that you don't remember who threw the first punch, and you don't really remember or recall everything about the fight that you had with Miss Kelly. True?
I said I do not recall who threw the first punch.
But yet you're gonna get up here and say that you know for sure that Miss Bass never laid hands on Miss Kelly while you were fighting with Miss Kelly.
She did not hit Miss Kelly.
Even so, that's what you're saying. She did not hit Miss Kelly
That's
while
what
you
I'm
were
saying.
fighting at the same time while you were fighting with.
There's no way that
No, that's not what I asked. It was a yes or no question.
But then you got to preface it with a yes or no. Now you didn't ask the question, she's allowed to answer it.
Judge, it wasn't an open-ended question, so I'm just
there's
asking
no
for.
way. You said there's no way that this could have happened, and she was going to explain the ways.
All right.
No, are
you asking to rephrase the question?
yeah, Judge, I'll rephrase the question. So your testimony here today is while you were fighting with Miss Kelly, you are going to tell the court today that you did not see Miss Bass involved in this incident at all.
I did not see Miss Bass hit Miss Kelly.
Did you see?
I found in court.
Okay. Did you see and your testimony today is Miss Bass never laid her hands on Miss Kelly, Miss Kelly at all. Is that your
That's what I'm
testimony
saying.
today?
That's my testimony. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Judge, I have none.
I have questions. Miss White, at any point in time, did you see Miss Bass grab Miss Kelly?
Say it again. Repeat the question, please.
Miss Bass, did you see Miss Bass grab Miss Kelly?
I didn't see that.
Okay, all right. I don't think I have any further questions.
I don't either.
Miss Woods?
No, Judge.
All right. Miss White is excused.
Thank you.
All right. Any further witnesses, Mr. Burkett?
I rest.
All right, closing arguments.
Yes, Judge. So we heard testimony from Miss Kelly herself. We know that this incident happened at Men's Like Us Club in Ypsilanti Township. At some point, these ladies were all friendly with each other. At some point, the relationship went south. We know that Miss Kelly was living with Mr. Lewis, staying at his residence at the time. She had to go back to the club, to his truck, to get the key to the residence. When she was getting into the truck, minding her own business, Judge, these two ladies, Miss Bass and Miss White, approached Miss Kelly. Miss Bass knew ahead of time that Miss White was going to confront her about this post being made about being on a t-shirt. So, Judge, they were the aggressors. Judge, they approached the victim in this case. We heard testimony from Miss Kelly, who explained to the court what happened, how she was basically comments were made to her that Miss White made about the t-shirt and name calling that she testified to, the horrible things that she said to Miss Kelly. And then a fight ensued, Judge, between Miss Kelly and Miss White. Judge, we're not here. I know you know we're not here about, whether Miss White is guilty or innocent, started the fight or whatnot. Really, it comes down to is what was Miss Bass's part in this fight, Judge. Miss Kelly told you when she was fighting with Miss White that she felt someone hitting her on the back. And the only other person that could have been there that was there present during the fight was Miss White. And then after the fight broke up, a second fight ensued. And then Miss White or Miss Bass wraps her arms around the victim's waist and throws her to the ground, and then puts her hand on her hip and tells her not to move. Miss Kelly knows that Miss White carries a gun, and when she made that comment to her, it meant that she better not move because she's got her gun. So she threatened her with that, Judge. At no time did Miss Bass go get help. Miss Bass's testimony is that the whole time they were fighting, I didn't even try to stop it. But yet she's saying that the only time she put hands on her was to stop the fight, Judge. She never once went to get help. She never tried to stop the fight when it was going on. The only time that she said she tried to stop the fight was after essentially it was already broken up by Mr. Lewis, which makes no sense. We have bruising and swelling all over the victim's back, Judge, that were caused when Miss Bass was hitting her. We know that what I believe is that Miss Bass was angry as well about the t-shirt comment. They're friends. She went out there knowing that there was going to be a confrontation, and she went out there as backup. And that's exactly what she did. She let this fight go on. She helped in this fight. She never tried to get them to stop. She never even went in to get help from someone else that was in the club to stop this fight. And the reason why that happened, Judge, is because Miss Bass was in on this fight. Miss Bass believed that the victim was a nitpicker, that she was a troublemaker, that she showed up, caused trouble, and left. Judge, Miss Bass was angry. Miss White was angry. And both of these ladies went out of that club. They confronted this victim, and they got into a fight with this victim. Now, Miss White is going to sit there and say that Miss Bass, she doesn't remember Miss Bass touching the victim at all, not even when she supposedly tried to break up the fight. The touching that Miss Bass admits to, Miss White never even saw. And I believe that Miss White is up here telling the court that is because they're friends. And she's trying to protect her friend, Judge. Both of these ladies were in on this fight together. Miss Bass was upset and Miss White was upset, and they both fought. And Miss Bass got her punches in as well and threw her to the ground and threatened her, put her hand on the hip because she wanted to put her in fear because she was upset as well. And based on all the testimony we have today, Judge, that makes sense as to what was really going on that night. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Burkett?
Yes, Judge. Judge, as I said throughout the trial, I'm going to be extremely quick with this, my statements to you. The prosecutor in this case has got this thing all wrong from the beginning of her closing. She starts out by saying these ladies were friends at one time. That's not true. That's not before you. Miss White and Miss Kelly were never friends. They never really liked each other from the beginning. That's the testimony before you, Your Honor. Now, the argument that the prosecutor is making is that all Miss Bass did was come in here and lie. You know, Judge, if this would have been before a jury, one of the instructions you would have read, you would have been required to tell them was this: look, when a person testifies, look at their demeanor, ask simple questions. Were they forthwith with their answers? Did they try to argue with the attorney? Did they present what would be a legitimate argument? Did they say things that weren't true? Compare that to what Miss Kelly did. Compare that to how she testified. She argued with me all the through. She cut me off. Compare that with Miss Bass and Miss White. Now, the prosecutor said even though Miss Bass was angry, there was no evidence whatsoever to show Miss Bass was not angry. None whatsoever. She said that she tried to separate a fight. Keep in mind what the police were told. The police were told when they arrived at the scene that Miss Bass, the only thing she did was break up a fight. They asked Miss Kelly what happened. Miss Kelly said she threw me to the ground and told me not to get up. That's what she said the night of this incident. Now she comes into court with some pictures that 3 years old that we just now have that I would have a ton of problems with had I known that. But anyway, and the final thing, Your Honor, I would mention this to the honorable court. Prosecutor argues that they knew what was going on, that Miss Bass could have called for help. Miss Bass' position was, these two women want to get out there and fight, let them fight. But I tried to break it up, and there's nothing that you heard that would differ from that. And if this were a jury trial, one of the arguments that I would ask this court to give to the jury would be, look, mere presence that a crime is being committed, even though the person that is accused agreed with that crime being committed or acquiesced with it. If he did not do anything but that, he's not guilty of a crime. And that's the situation here. Yes, she was present, but there's nothing that Miss Bass did. And behind that, she should not be branded a convicted criminal, lose her right to carry a gun, and think behind the testimony of a person who got on that witness stand like Miss Kelly and argued with me and told lies to the policeman. And the major lie was, I saw the video of this thing. And we don't have it. We don't have an officer in charge who could verify these things. This is just totally wrong. So I'm asking you to find her not guilty. Thank you.
Anything additional today, Ms. Woods?
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
Judge, just briefly, Miss Bass had no right to put her hands on Miss Kelly, even during this fight and even after this fight. When this fight was broken up, she had no right to wrap her arms around her and throw her on the ground and then proceed to put her hand on her waist and threaten her and tell her to stay down. Judge, she's saying she did it to break up this fight, but I don't believe that's what happened. I think that she was in on this fight. She hit her a few times in the back and then saw the opportunity to wrap her arms around her, throw her on the ground, and threaten her like she had a gun. And then her excuse is, oh, I was just trying to break up a fight. That's not what happened here, Judge. She never tried to break up that fight.
Thank you. The court will take this under advisement. Are the parties available on April 29th for my ruling?
Your Honor, would it be in the morning?
Yes. Are you available in the morning? 11?
Yes, ma'am. What time?
11 o'clock. Does that work with everybody's schedule?
Yes. Oh, yes. I do have a matter at 1:30, but I'm sure I'll be out by then.
I'll get you in and out before then.
Okay.
11 o'clock on April I said the 29th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Judge.
April 29th at 11 o'clock a.m. I'll make my ruling. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Everyone have a good evening.
Recess.
You too, dear.
And everybody, please be on your best behavior between now and then. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Judge, just before I forget, it's been a pleasure being before you again.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
You have got to be kidding me. What is going on today? This is a jerk. This is a jerk. Today is an absolute an interpreter.
I need an interpreter when I cannot express myself sometimes.
Oh my God, sir, put that cigarette out. I don't give a crap that you are outside of this. What is wrong with everybody today? You know what, Miss Reed? We're going to start bringing people in. We're going to learn how to act in a courtroom.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Ma'am? Ma'am? Can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
No patience left. I'm sitting up here. I'm the one that needs a drink.